What's up guys, it's Blue. In this video we're going to go over the heroic Argus fight from the tank point of view. First thing I'm going to do is go over my gear. I'm using the Smoldering Titan Guard from Agrimar and Dima's Glacial Aegis from Coven, but I would recommend switching to Archamon's Hatred of the Reborn. As for legendaries, I'm using the legendary gloves and belt in this video, but like I said, I would recommend the trinket and then also the gloves if you're doing this. I'll go over why I'm using these during Phase 4, but before we get started in the phase overviews, I want to point out that both Sweeping Scythe and Deadly Scythe are blockable. That is why Prot warriors are so good for this fight. We have an instant reduction in damage with block, and then even more armor than most tanks to be able to mitigate even more damage. As a warrior, if you plan your defense, you should be able to last pretty long on the stacks. In the video, I was completely winging it because I didn't know that I was going to be tanking that night, and made it to 7. With some planning, you should be able to make it to 7 and beyond pretty easily. As for Phase 1, it's centered around surviving a scythe mechanic. In Phase 1, it's easily manageable by swapping stacks every 2 scythes, and after the swap, the stacks are going to fall off, so you shouldn't really need to use any mitigation abilities other than shield block. The other thing with this is just getting the timing down with your co-tank. That way, neither of you are going to get the buff and then drop it in the scythe range and then screw over your DPS so they can't get the buff. During Phase 2, you'll be responsible for using your Agrimar's Boon buff to soak the Soul Bomb affected players when they detonate. With this buff, you gain double health and additional 40% movement speed, plus the cool growth mechanic. When you have the buff, all players in your circle have all of their damage redirected to you. To soak the Soul Bomb, you should only need your Spell Reflect to absorb the hit along with the Agrimar buff and double health. After that, you're just swapping with the other tank for the Sweeping Scythe mechanic. And just be aware that if you're the tank without Agrimar's Boon, you might have to soak an extra 1 or 2 hits, so save your cooldowns for if that does happen. In Phase 3, your job is going to be to tank either the sword or the dagger ad. Both do a lot of damage, but the Blades of the Eternal or the dagger ad seem to do more damage than the sword. It's all physical damage, so your shield block and high armor are going to help when tanking these bosses. When shield block is on cooldown, that's a good time to use either Demoralizing Shout or your artifact ability to mitigate the extra damage. The best way to pick up the ads before they can smack a raid member is to stand back to back with your co-tank, that way you can see all the ads at once. If If they both start to grow at the same time, then just call out the shape or color of the one that you're taunting. That way your co-tank doesn't go for the same one. The placement of these ads depends on the weapon they have. If it's a sword ad, you want to tank him in the middle of the room 20 yards from all the other ads, because every ad within 20 yards deals 20% increased damage. The dagger ad doesn't empower the other mobs around it, so you want to tank him next to other targets, that way they can be cleaved down as fast as possible. When you spawn in phase 4, make sure you recast your rune to get the extra buff, and if you're fast enough to respawn, you can pre-pop before engaging with the boss. I don't recommend this because having Unbending Potion is very important for phase 4. This is my favorite phase ever to tank because it's all about just trying to take the biggest hit possible and survive. Deadly Scythe is the ability he's going to cast, and it cannot time out, so you're going to take that ability until you die. During this footage, I was just winging the scythe and didn't know that block mitigated the damage, so I didn't use my abilities correct, so don't use that ability usage as an example. After the fight, I made an Excel sheet that demonstrates an example of how you can use your cooldowns to make it as long as possible. Keep in mind that this isn't including procs or healer buffs like Bark Skin that can help you make it further. I only used abilities in your control to survive as a warrior. This isn't perfect, there are a lot of variables that I can't count on, but it was an interesting experiment to see how far I could possibly make it if I planned out ahead of time. On the chart, I used the cooldowns in the order listed in the yellow section. The green section next to it is the health remaining after each cast using those cooldowns. As you can see in the chart, according to my possibly incorrect math, if I use my cooldowns in that order, I should make it to dying on hit 10, not hit 7 like the video shows. Now this isn't the most important thing in the fight, just making it to 7 should be sufficient for your group, since both tanks should definitely get 2 shots at tanking, and after that they should both be able to res and keep it going for 1 or 2 more tries each, but it's a fun way to try and prove how good of a tank you are and how many hits you're able to take before you fall over. So other than trying to survive as many hits as you can, it's important to kill the orbs when they spawn, and if you're dead, grab some orbs on the way back. If you have time, you can linger, but don't wait too long because a DPS could take the final tree res and you might not have any battle reses available, and you getting the res is more important than your DPS. Don't forget that as a warrior we can intervene just to assist the other tank in surviving the attack. I haven't tried it, but since the scythe is blockable and that only works on melee attacks, I would imagine that the damage could also be intervened. I don't usually do this because it's overkill, but if you're getting bored waiting, it's just a way that you can stay involved. And that's all for the final boss in Mentorus. He's a super fun fight to tank, and I really enjoy it every time I get to tank him. The last phase is just a competition to see who can last the longest, and it's also an internal competition to see how far you can go yourself. In the bottom, leave a comment with the highest stack you've been able to survive and what the difficulty is. Mine's currently 7 on Heroic, since I made this video after tanking him for the first time. If this video and spreadsheet I made helped you, leave a like or comment to let me know. Your support is much appreciated. Subscribe if you want to see more Prot or ARMS content like this. Thanks for watching this video, and good luck getting that prized AOTC.